Apparently I sent it to the wrong fucking
These guys
bank account.
amuse themselves
Like, what
a
the
bit
fuck?
too much.
Okay. Anyway, back to the story. Look, I think we all expected the Russiagate stuff to make an appearance this election cycle. We knew it was coming. But what you probably didn't expect is a handful of conservative media personalities crying about being duped by the Kremlin. Admin accused Moscow of carrying out a sustained campaign to influence the outcome of November's presidential elections.
Anyway, a bit too much joking around to hang with that. Maybe you got the idea. Well, hello, people. I have an itch here that I have to scratch. Do I want to make this video? I just have to say something, even if it's just to myself and this camera, because it's so bloody irksome and annoying. I was suffering from Trump syndrome in 2016, you know, the first election, Hillary and Trump. And I even watched Morning Joe back then sometimes. And it makes me queasy. It makes me feel sick to my stomach that I actually did that. And Rachel Maddow and CNN and so on and so forth, Don Lemon and it just, oh God, I was in Hong Kong. I don't know what was wrong with me. But anyway, I suffered Trump syndrome, and I was listening to people freaking out about the Russian interference thing. And of course, I was following the Real News Network and other outlets as well. And Aaron Maté in particular, who was debunking the Russiagate thing in real time, which I think is pretty amazing. People who want to do the work can find out what's really going on and report on it. But of course, narratives are all in service of one thing and one thing only, and that is capital markets, basically. So, you know, once they get onto something, they're going to whip it until it's flayed and skinless and bleeding. And it's etched into the numb brains of every American in the world. So, yeah, Russiagate. So, of course, you know, every election there has to be some foreign interference, because it's not as if Americans interfere with one another at all, ever, or there's no discord in the United States of New Miracles. So anyway, I commented on their piece. This was entitled The Deprogram, episode 147. These are socialists, by the way. So if that scares you, you know, forewarned, trigger alert. You know, I don't know what socialism is going to do for the world, a world that's big nature blind. But anyway, nice people, earnest people. The host is cool, I think. He has a lot to say about things that are interesting and worth listening to if you're interested in that side of things. I recommend the Deprogram podcast. And he's got a YouTube channel that puts up some interesting stuff, a couple of YouTube channels. But anyway, so this is 147 episode. Macron is married to a pedophile. So they're just having a discussion of news in September. They tend to goof around a bit, joke around a little bit too much for my taste, because I just want them to get to the meat of what they're talking about, and with a little less joking around, but that's fine. I'm sure people like it. So they finally got to the Russiagate 2.0 or part 2, you know, in the franchise. So I watched CNN this morning just for the heck of it, just to see what they were saying about it. And after 15 minutes of CNN self-promotion, the whole network is a commercial, basically. It's an advertisement for itself and for itself advertising other corporate persons. All news outlets once in a while will tell you the weather and what happened at a school shooting or whatnot. So you will get some information from these various news outlets, but it's not as if you can't get some news, like about the guy running around the Daniel Boone forest and how the whole state has to shut down because there's a guy who threatened to kill people who shot at a bunch of cars. What's new in America? So anyway, so frustrated as I was, I'm no fun at all. And obviously I don't get any thumbs up when I comment on videos. Primarily, I think, other than the fact that I'm an idiot and a shitty writer and have nothing to say, and a bad listener, which is all untrue, by the way. I do, when I comment, it means I've listened to the program carefully and thought about it a bit. So I try to stop myself from commenting until I've seen the whole thing and thought about it a bit. And then I write a comment, but most comments that are appreciated are fandom comments or one-liners, and if a more parroted one-liner, the better. So if it's been said a million times before, you're going to get a lot more attention because, oh yeah, that's familiar. I've heard that. Right on. Yeah, thumbs up. Like. But I write sentences, and in this case, a bunch of craziness because of my frustration. So obviously, I don't think anyone's going to read it because it's a big fat paragraph, much less get any of the jokes I'm making because they're not dog whistles and they're not inside jokes, right? That you've heard before. Oh yeah, I know that joke. You can't help but laugh because you've heard it before. Yeah. So anyhow, enough of that. Enough of my sour grapes. So I said in response to the program, in particular the part where they talk about the Russiagate thing, apparently something connected with RT or Russia spent $10 million on some media company to say things, to tell stories or whatever, which is, who's paying the corporate media to say anything? Obviously, the Washington Post is totally unbiased. There are third rail issues, like you listen to Steven Pinker and people like that discussing the world today, and they'll never mention Gaza, but they'll mention Ukraine over and over again because everyone knows that's a hot rail and verboten and taboo, and if you say it, you're not going to be making much money this year, kind of thing. So you can't talk about that, but you can talk about the other thing very easily. And, there's something about people like me, white, well-off baby boomers, 60-something, 70-something people who tend to think that the best of all possible worlds in the history of everything in the universe happened during our generation and led up to teleologically our generation and all the wonderful things that we do and experience and have. And so we can't put that in the context of ecology or nature or science, even anything, because it's all about the stuff we have and the stuff we can get and the little benefits we've accrued with science, engineering, and technology and fossil fuels. Really wonderful, transportable, malleable, usable energy and chemicals that make so much of our stuff. And this is all great. Nothing but good can come of it. The externalities, the waste, the destruction, we never talk about that because obviously it's a negativity bias, availability bias. Kahneman and Tversky or whatever, Daniel Kahneman. So we're stuck in these biases and heuristics that really, really get things wrong. But it always depends on the frame, doesn't it? How you frame things, the context in which they are and how you see that context, your perspective on it, So depending on your perspective and your particular bias and how you want to frame it and what you want to communicate, if you're a good rhetorician and you speak eloquently and convincingly about a thing to influence people's thoughts, ideas, and feelings, logos, eros, pathos, and so on, you're going to come up with a nice story that sounds really, really good. And of course, it's been good to you. Baseball been very, very good to me. Capitalism been very, very good to me. And so it's all wonderful. And if only we can just hang on and have green growth until all Africans and all Indians and all the people around the world live like Americans have over the past 70 years. The world's going to be perfect, and then we can go about applying our engineering solutions and our tech fixes for all of the externalities that have built up and piled up like a huge dystopian Blade Runner garbage dump over the years. Okay, I'm ranting. I'm going to read you a rant, and I've already ranted. So you get a double scoop of rant. Wow. And, I didn't prepare. I didn't take a shower. I don't smell that bad. Didn't do my hair. Didn't trim my nose hairs as usual. Anyway, my response. Gents, regarding the Ruskie Splinter Adherence, election interfere ants. I understand that folks from Das West think Chinese and Russian people are idiots who could not escape from a paper bag without U.S. culture, technology transfer, and finance. Those less than you, man, human, over there are dumb, and dumbly brain-flossed. And so, my profound question is, what do they want? Al Pacino, Scent of a Woman. That was a cool scene. The kid's in there and he goes, what do you want? Anyway, what do they want? I get it. Russians are idiots. And so they might be thick enough to think that if they interfered with the selection by corporate persons, it would have some desired effect. Still, it has often been said by their mentally impaired leaders that one neocon / neoliberal true believer is as bad as another. Flip the coin. On one side is Trump, and the other side is Paris. Harris. And life goes on as before in pious service to capital and fear of the super boss, Mr. Global Noble Financial Markets. Even the Vatnik, shyte-fear-brain'n, knows that the primary concern for AmeriKanSkies is that during nap time with your blankie, one must make lots and lots of money. So Vatnik is just a derogatory term for Russians, especially in the Ukraine war. And some of the dunce celestials, or dullard, Muskal Orcs, have noticed how the best and most meritorious population of the fleadumb and demockassie, the best of the West, revere artific-illy, artific-illy, Intelli-Gent Elon Busk. So artificially intelligent Elon Musk, but I say artific-illy as in ill, Intelli-Gent Elon Musk. Feed the shitty on the hill anything, and the sickness can only get worse. Yes, the blankets are still full of disease and bad colonial dreams. So can, with Pinky touching the right edge of my sensual, sensitive lips, 10 boodle be money well spent? So boodle is slang for million, a clump of $1,000,000, buckaroonies, 10 boodle, 10 boodle. They gave 10 boodle to a media organization to influence the elections. Hell, you can go to Rockfin and be influenced. You can go to YouTube and be influenced by all the right people. And for free. Please like and subscribe and share. It's a pittance, good riddance. But really, how could that ever really make a difference? 10 boodle, 10 boodle, 10 million? The geniuses in the disunited states of new miracles invest orders of magnitude more cashola interfering in their own elections than the capitalists with commie characteristics or the bratva combined could possibly put together if they tried super hard to tap all of their escapist running dog oligarchs. The clerks of capital are all misanthropic, omnicidal, battle boosters, and market-supping zeros to ones who revel in negative externalities and pirating resources for the only thing those who have everything could possibly want: more control over the chaos they innovate. The only export they boost is disease, bile, chemical, toxic, and general waste, HollyW.E.I.R.D, entertainment, Western, educated, industrial, rich, and democratic, right? HollyW.E.I.R.D, entertainment, modern techno-industrial Ponzi schemes, and belief in belief. From their socially blind, energy blind, philosophy of science blind, and thought blind, and posterity blind, microplastic-PFOS-demented minds with its accompanying vulture-culture that will pick life clean and then starve to dust. Even the buckwits over there in the global other can intuit in their simple, savage, survivalist way that all of this is bad news for 10-year-olds. America is death to big nature. And big nature doesn't give a feces about the species Homo Hubris. So, yeah, frustrated a wee bit, a little tiny bit with the nonsense and the sleight of hand, sleight of attention, grabbing bullshit. You know, the magician has you look over there while he does something magical over here. We don't seem to notice, we don't seem to care. Another thing that really bugs me about today is leaders, even not as far back as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and JFK, or way back when, if you want to talk Cicero and Caesar, and England. That terrible criminal Winston Churchill, all these people of their time, of their ilk, of their culture, used to value rhetorical skills, eloquence, the fine art of persuasion. And people thought that was beautiful and important. And they kind of looked up to that kind of intelligence and those kinds of communication skills. But now we hate them. We hate intellectualism. We hate intellectuals, real intellectuals. We hate well-spoken people. You know, in the old days, if you were low-born and didn't have an education that was up to snuff to be a clerk for Capital, you would still say, well, you know, I'm just simple-born and I'm a simple-born tenant farmer and so on and so forth, but I do admire the boss with his fancy clothes and his nice-smelling skin and his pretty hair and his way with words. And I love my preacher who's so eloquent and you know, persuasive and blah, blah, blah. We used to look up to things like that. You know, William F. Buckley Jr., love him or hate him, he was well-spoken. And, you know, a lot of the old commies, you know, people had a way with words, you know. And people used to say, Obama's so slick and such a good communicator and all that kind of stuff. And there may have been a moment when we thought that was a good thing. And other people thought, I hate the motherfucker, he's an elitist. Listen to the way he talks. You know, you have those types as well. But today, in 2024, we don't even have anybody with rhetorical skills who speaks eloquently, passionately, truthfully, in service of good ideas. We don't have it. Trump, Harris, are you joking? Any of these people? They're the bottom of the barrel, honestly. I mean, it's, you know, they read from the same script. And that script serves one thing and one thing only. And we just sit back and take it. And we seem to like it. We seem to think it's cool. We seem to get excited about it. And it's just getting worse and worse. I mean, I read a lot of old stuff, you know, and even some language in the 19th century is kind of difficult to pull through because they speak differently, they communicate differently in different periods of history. But you can sense the rhetorical flourish and appreciate it, and the beautiful composition of words that I lack. By the way, I'm not saying I'm a special communicator, but people used to respect that. You know, you used to have people to look up to, even if there was a class issue. You looked up to the upper class because of some good reasons. Even the plebs and proles had some good reasons to look up to the emperor, besides the fact that the emperor was sitting up there and you were sitting down there. But anyway, I suppose in the stadium we look down on our heroes. But it's extremely frustrating for me to hear this nonsense. And does it really scare you? Does it put fear into your soul to think that those damn Ruskies are interfering with your election? Okay. Look, I didn't do any prep work for this or anything like that, because why bother? But let me just say that, you know, America and American corporations and governments around the world spend far more money than Russia or China combined on influencing elections in the United States of New Miracles, the most powerful, influential country in the whole wide world, with its dollar hegemony, with its dollar dominance and global hegemony. So anyway, of course they're going to be interested in the outcomes of elections in the United States. Only today, I think, why would they care? One is as good as another. The only difference is there's going to be some cultural issues and some very serious issues as well. affecting normal people in the United States. You know, can they fix a road? Can they fix a bridge? Can they educate the kids without everybody having to be home educated because they're afraid of school shootings, or because they're afraid that the quality of teachers, low paid teachers, is getting worse and worse, or whatever the reasons are. You know, a woman's control over her body, abortion issues, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that candidates can do for their constituencies, but their primary constituents are corporate persons, and not you, my friend, not for you. You don't have that much control over anything, or influence for that matter. And the dipshits that do, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, oh my God, Sam Harris, oh, whoever, name somebody anywhere in the world. And they have influence, and that's really what's going to turn it around. All these decades of these people prattling on, and nothing seems to shift. There's, you know, I'm a radical, so I want to see radical change, and I want to see change in favor of posterity, in favor of a healthy, natural balance of things. And you're not going to get that with green growth or any other kind of just unimpinged growth that comes from an ideological belief system, a religion, economic belief system. You're only going to get it by listening to nature and being concerned about the science of it all, the truth of it all, what we know, our best guess science right now about how living systems work. Anyway, I'm going on and on, so let me just cut to the chase here. All right, in 2022, total cost of elections in congressional races, okay? $8,937,407, whatever. $8 billion, almost $9 billion, right? So that's a lot of money. Now, how much of that came from a few dollars here and a few dollars there? From how many ever million? I could look that up. How many people voted that year for Congress people? It's a fraction of the population of voters, of registered voters. And how many of those people gave how much money to whoever? And obviously the big bucks comes from political action committees and other sources, right? And also we're not looking at the marketing firms and the PR firms and the speechwriters and all the other think tankers and all the other consultants and staffers who are contributing and also being supported financially by various interested corporate persons, you know? So, and newspapers and so on, corporate media, MSM, whatever. So it's huge. It's at least twice as much, 16 billion probably. So that's Congress, right? So presidential elections, total spending for presidential candidates in major political parties in the United States from 1984 to 2024. It's just trillions and trillions of dollars. It's mind-boggling. It's just numbers you can't comprehend. So tracking, again, this is political action committees. Democratic National Committee, $130.1 million for the Republican National Committee. $5.6 billion came from PACs, over 65%. You know, it's just, you can look this stuff up. It's funny, you know, you go to Statistica or the World in Data, and these are all run by, you know, people who sup at the teat of markets. And of course, to get that information and data, the good stuff, you have to pay $1,000 or $2,000 a year. So not for you, my friends, not for you. But you don't want to know because it would be very uncomfortable for you to know. So don't bother knowing. This is just entertainment. You don't know anything. I can't tell you anything. I don't know shit. So the billionaire Timothy Mellon has poured $165 million supple, sensual, sensitive lips into the 2024 elections. That's a lot of moolah, peeps. A fucking shite load of moolah. So anyway, that's just one billionaire. You've read about Elon Busk, you know, busking, playing the ukulele at some monument to get people throwing pennies in. Elon is a busker, but he's also a con man, a huge confidence man and a Ponzi schemer. But you see these guys and, you know, oh God, Thiel, for God's sake, Peter Thiel, zeros to ones. Did you get it? The amount of money these people put in, and it's not just going directly to a PAC, political action committee. It's going into all kinds of other feeder businesses that support it. So, yeah, you can just go through these websites. Statistica, the largest recipient of campaign donations by oil and gas companies in the United States in the 23-24 election cycle. So Donald Trump got $951,000 from oil and gas, and another 700,000 from this. Ted Cruz got 600,000. Blah blah blah. Anyway, you can see just how much money they get, and it's not like it's going into their pockets, but it's going into putting them in office where they can take care of their donors. This isn't Jimmy Dore speaking, okay? It's just common sense. And it's just the truth. The money talks, bullshit walks, right? And we all know this because we all compromise a lot to make a living. All of us, because we have to. And you can't argue with a person who to change his opinion if his opinion depends on his salary. There's a great quote about that. But anyway, good luck trying to persuade somebody. So again, all of this is just asking me to pay shitloads of money to get the stats. Otherwise, you have to, you know, pour through article after article looking for citations or numbers, and then you have to track those down to see if the numbers are good numbers, real numbers, or if they've been exaggerated in some way or another, which most likely they were. But anyway, you get my drift. It's not just the dirty tricks and the Nixonian kind of tradition and so on and so forth that's naughty. It's not just the gangsterism and organized crime involved in politics, you know, boss tweed type stuff, you know, the unions and the union busters and on and on and on, all the corruption that we know about and lionize and love through TV series. You know, I mean, from Sopranos to, name one. There's so many out there just pointing, you know, The Wire. Is it really that bad, The Wire? I mean, is it really like that? The politics, the police, the drug dealers, well, the interface, I don't know. Is it? Where do these stories come from? You know, the teacher who's, you know, making crystal meth to pay for medical bills. I mean, come on, that can't be even close to the truth. It's just a fable. There's nothing resembling that in real life. We make a series about it. We make entertainment about it. We say, wow, that's just terrible, you know. 48 Hours, serial killers, all this stuff on Netflix and HBO and Max and whatever about all these terrible people. and terrible scams and big food and big pharma and big this and big that. And none of us listen to big nature. We're deaf to big nature. And we're all nature. So eventually this deafness to big nature, to take nature into account in all the economic models, is going to get our species killed. Because nature does bat last, and you just cannot manipulate it, control it, and own it as a big, huge commodity, break it up into its little bits and sell it off so the stock market goes up forever and not get into trouble. So even if you're pro-natal and pro-growth, at some point there's going to be a bit of a crash. And we see these cycles all the time, and it's going to happen again. Just because we have the internet doesn't mean we're immune to this stuff. Anyway, Jesus, 36 minutes. So that's the thing, folks. Get over it. The Russians interfering, what about some other countries? I mean, everybody's involved, right? You're afraid of the, there goes my freaking light. You're afraid of, nice to have a lens that opens up real wide. So, yeah. So, the Celestials, the Chinese, the Russians, everybody's up in everybody else's stuff because it's the great game. And the players want control over the resources that matter. It's just the way it is, folks. So this idea of trying to get you all excited about Russian interference is just nonsense. Pay attention to what the real issues are, and what the real problems are, and see if there's any way you can, do something about that. I wish we had leaders we could vote for that cared about this stuff. So if you want to see the kinds of information I share about the real world, you can go to cospelon.eu, look at links we love, or the links section under the About section, or book recommendations, books I've been reading over the last 5 or 6 years or so. You can go to Globe Hackers on Facebook, where I sometimes post. I used to post a lot because I had some RSS feeds set up, but I nixed those because I'm busy with some other work right now. Don't really have time to look at it. So I just post a few things. But there's a lot of good people out there doing good work, trying to figure out alternatives to what we have now that's not working. And of course, if you are a baby boomer like me who's doing well, or if you believe in the baby boomers thing, shtick, then you're pink hairy and everything's fine. And we have a great future to look forward to, which is a lovely way to think and feel. And I wouldn't take that away from you if that's what you want to believe. If it feels good, believe it. So anyway, take good care. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Bullion tea out.